What happened in the UK? Sue Nethercutt, who works on this program, writes over at medium.com, suenethercutt.medium.com, and she's positing that neoliberalism basically caught Liz Truss and Kwasi Kwarteng, I'm sure I'm mispronouncing that, unawares, as it were, or, caught up with them. I'd like to ask somebody who really knows these issues. Victoria Jones, not to say that Sue doesn't, she certainly does, and I actually agree with Sue's analysis. I think it's brilliant. Victoria Jones is the chief Washington analyst over at the D.C. radio company. Victoria Jones D.C. is her Twitter handle. Victoria, welcome back to the program. Where did Liz go wrong?
Where did Liz go right? I'm wondering.
Okay. It's that bad, huh?
Well, it is that bad, really. I mean, she's got the shortest tenure of any Conservative Party prime minister. The next one above her, who was 119 days, died. So, it's pretty bad, really. Where did she go right? She didn't listen to anybody. She didn't listen to anybody.
Do you think she thought she was Margaret Thatcher?
Helped. I think she thought she would like to be Margaret Thatcher. Margaret Thatcher, whatever you think of her policies, was a good politician by and large. And she did listen to people, and she did learn as she went along.
Yes. And also, so, she was speaking to the moment, Margaret Thatcher was. I mean, there was a broad support for neoliberal policies back then. I think that support has collapsed.
I think so. And I think also Liz Truss is coming in at a time where her party is appears to be devolving, and where the parliamentary system in so many countries is devolving, and also where Britain, after Brexit, after it made this extraordinary decision that as the world really is becoming more internationalized, simply because, we have the internet and because trade is international and so many things are, oh, no, we're going to go it alone because, we can, and we think that's the way. It has been hoisted by its own petard and reaped its own rewards, and nothing has gone right.
Yeah. I keep reading articles that have little tantalizing bits of information in them about the role that Russian intelligence played via Facebook, via that British company, I'm forgetting the name of it, the data company.
Cambridge Analytica.
Cambridge Analytica, thank you. That basically, flipped the UK toward Brexit. That, this was a Russian intervention trying to basically begin breaking up the European Union. Is that a widely held view in the UK or not?
I don't know whether it's a widely held view, but there does seem to be something to that. And in fact, it's interesting you say that, because already there are concerns being expressed among Conservative members of Parliament about the way the leadership vote is being done this week, in this extraordinarily short week, which might be online, about whether this vote could be nobbled, to use an English expression, in other words, got at.
Yeah.
Hacked, fixed. Yes, exactly, because people don't trust the system, and part of the reason for that is because disinformation has been so very successful over the past several years, and part of that is the success of actors like Russia.
Right, and the Leave campaign. So we're talking with Victoria Jones, the chief Washington analyst with the D.C. radio company, Victoria Jones D.C. on Twitter. Victoria, I have heard stories, or I've seen stories online suggesting that Boris Johnson might come back, that there's all kinds of confusion among the Conservatives, among the Tories, that there may be a call for elections. I mean, what is going to happen? Who is in line to become prime minister, and will this end with with new elections, or is this just going to be an election within the Conservative Party there?
Well, Sir Keir Starmer, who is the leader of the opposition, the Labour leader, this morning called for a general election. He's speaking at the Trade Union Congress this week. So he was speaking to trade union leaders. He called for a general election, which is not surprising that he would, but he did. And I think quite a few people might agree with him on that. At the moment, the Conservatives don't want that because a poll of polls that came out this week showed that Conservatives would lose every seat they hold except for 48.
Wow.
So basically, they would be wiped out.
So who makes that decision?
Yeah, exactly.
How is that decision made about whether or not there will be a general election?
Basically, the Prime Minister makes that decision unless there's a vote of no confidence, and in which case you could have Parliament dissolved, and then you would have to have a general election. Liz Truss decided that she would go rather than be forced out. You mentioned Boris Johnson. Now, Boris Johnson only went, remember, because he was forced out. There is an element of, some people seem to have a sense of shame and some people don't. Boris Johnson does not appear to have a sense of shame, so he's coming back. He went because of scandals, which he doesn't seem to think are necessarily a problem anymore. Conservative MPs are already saying, I will not serve with him.
So who are the leading contenders for the job?
Well, Rishi Sunak, who was the other finalist against Liz Truss, he is considered at the moment the leading person, and he is believed to be running. And he's been very interesting for the last, what is it, 2 days? No, several weeks that she's been Prime Minister. He has been silent. He has said nothing. He's given no interviews. He's been to an art gallery, a couple of plays with his daughter. That's it. He's played a very wise game. So him, the head of the House of Commons, Penny Mordaunt, is thought to be a possibility. There are a couple of ministers. There could be an outsider. But the leadership are setting such a high bar. They're saying that you have to have the support of 100 MPs to be basically a candidate. Well, and they're saying, well, yes, we could end up with one candidate. Well, then you're basically crowning somebody.
Right. Sue, I mentioned Sue Nethercutt's piece. Sue lives in the UK, and she does our newsletter, at thomhartmann.com every day. And in her piece over at medium.com, she noted Tory policies have brought about a shortfall of investment over the past 12 years, a skimming off of funds by partial privatization, most of this having to do with the NHS, wasteful giving of COVID contracts to cronies, fall in real wages for NHS staff, loss of many staff due to Brexit, loss of many senior doctors due to a pension snafu, and then on top of that, eye-watering increased energy costs. She said the people know that the NHS were working their butts off and risking their lives for COVID while the Tories were partying, profiting, risking spreading COVID, and generally taking the piss, which I assume is a British expression. What do you think of that analysis?
It's something that I could hear a lot of Brits who are listening to your show nodding right now. I mean, Keir Starmer, addressing trade unionists today, said the victims of crime who can't get justice, people dying because ambulances can't get there in time, millions going without food or heating, and none of it can drum into the Tories, that's Conservatives, the idea that our country must come first. They lack the basic patriotic duty to keep the British people out of their own pathetic squabbles. And his message is that they just can't play games with the country and just run things themselves and leave the people out of it. This is his message.
Now, you mentioned the name of the new Labour leader. I'm sorry, I don't know who he is, and I don't recall the name, but could you tell us that name again and who he is? And I'm assuming he's quite different from Jeremy Corbyn, or is he? I mean, how is he? What chances does he have at being prime minister someday?
Keir Starmer, who has a knighthood, Sir Keir Starmer, he is a barrister. So he's one of those lawyers. He's a trial attorney. Very successful one. He has silk. Very successful trial attorney, and which means he's also obviously very good at Prime Minister's questions. In fact, he asked a very good one of Liz Truss yesterday when he said he had heard that there's a new book about Liz Truss coming out at Christmas, called Out by Christmas, and he wanted to know, is that the title or the release date?
Amazing.
And now we know which it is.
So he's a funny guy, too. So you think he'll do better than Jeremy Corbyn?
I think so. I think he's a better politician than Jeremy Corbyn. He has a better sense of things.
Right, I get that. Yeah, Corbyn could be tone deaf at times. Victoria Jones, the chief Washington analyst of the D.C. radio company, Victoria Jones DC on Twitter. Victoria, thanks so much for dropping by. It's always enlightening speaking with you.